Hello, this is a peaceful, calming, tranquil bye edition of In the Lab. I can't talk like that
No,
anymore.
you can't talk like that, especially on radio and podcast. Not at all, Drew.
No, but we'll start it out like that and we'll have a fun time. You, me, and you, listener, viewer, both. Thank you for joining John and myself. It's the three of us, and we're going to chit chat a little bit. John, Texans for the first time in 149 days. Well, that's not true. Let's say this. First time all regular season on a Sunday or Monday or Thursday or Saturday or whatever. We're not going to play a game this week.
Oh,
They're one of six teams not doing so. The Colts also not doing so. The
yep.
Ravens also not doing so. So they're off. They began practicing. Remember, they started a week or so before everybody else because
That's right.
played that Hall of Fame game against the Bears. So the Bears and the Texans started before everyone else. So 149 days since that July 18th training camp practice, which was the first one. That was a long time ago. Things are much, much different, but they're off. And it comes at a perfect time. You've talked about it both in print, on air. You need a break, John.
Yes.
But the players, the coaches, they've got to do that mental reset. We'll see how this is. They've never had at least in my memory, the Texans have never had a break this late in the season.
Yeah.
The idea was, cool, it's a late break. It'll be perfect just in time for the playoff push. Maybe it is. Maybe it will be. I heard Ross Tucker on with Payne and Pendergast this morning. He talked about how, the Eagles had their bye around week 5. At that point, they were 2-2, and they haven't lost since.
That's right.
That's right. They checked some things. They did some self-scouting, and they realized we're going to do this, this, and this, and it's paid off for them in wins and losses just since then. Maybe that happens for the Texans, but it's nice to have some time off, isn't it, John?
Man, it is. That time off hasn't happened yet, but just to know that it can, and it's happening after a win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And look, I know people 8-5, whatever.
I'd take a win over the Northbrook Raiders going into a bye. I'd take a win over the Stratford Spartans, over the
Springwoods Tigers,
Jersey Village Falcons. It doesn't matter. Give me a big Episcopal Knights.
Just feel good about it. Look, it was 23-6. Felt like the game was not safely in hand, but you did what you had to do to get out of there. And just being around the team the last few weeks, as we could see the fatigue level. You can see it. You could sense it. We felt it. We feel it. It's a game every single week. It's just, and look, we love the games. There's no question. Love the games. Love everything about what we do. But 13 in a row is tiring. Really tiring. So they say the bye comes at a good time. I think the bye for the Eagles was much needed in week 5, and I'm glad you brought that up. They really got their stuff together during the bye, and now they're on a good run. Now, will playing 9-12 straight and then going into the playoffs, will that impact them from a fatigue standpoint? We'll see. Will playing 13 in a row for us, give us issue in the playoffs because, if we get to the playoffs because, it was just too many in a row, you just didn't have enough time to recover, we'll see. But you just got to take the bye when you can get it. But I think, I don't know, I think there's a better way to do the bye. I would love a two bye season.
Like, it's coming because it's coming. You're going to have 18 games.
Yeah, you can get 18 games.
It's a matter of when.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind. When it went to 17, I know it was one game. I remember saying to Mark at some point, like, man, I know it's one game, but boy, did that feel a lot longer than just one game extra of the season. So, you're sitting 8-5. You beat Dallas and Dallas for the first time ever. You beat New England and New England for the first time ever. You beat the Bills here, and you beat them up really in that game. You had 2 games you lost to NFC North stud teams in Detroit and Green Bay on the last play of the freaking game with field goals that just eat the bye in certain situations. So what is it, Bill Parcells? You are what your record.
You are what your record says you are.
And look, you probably could have had another couple of games go your way. You may have had a couple of them go the other way. So 8-5 is probably about where they are. But I think with this 4-game stretch the 3 games in particular, Miami, Kansas City, and Baltimore, I think 3 AFC gauntlet teams. I know Miami has struggled. A lot of that has to do with Tua being out early. But I think this team and kind of the organization, too, kind of pointing to those games. Like, all right, let's get through this. Let's do what we can the first 13, see how it goes. But then let's gear up for those 3, man, in particular. And look, it comes down to this, as easy as it can be. The magic number's 2 for the Texans to win a division. You win on Sunday. Colts lose to the Broncos. I think that's who they're playing in Denver.
You've got the AFC South. Yeah, that's hard. South. That's a tough game. I mean,
it is. It's a very tough.
Denver will be favored.
Very tough game.
Yeah, that's a tough.
So it's gonna be tough for the Colts. It's gonna be tough for the Texans. But
just take care of business.
Take care of business. Just keep winning games, and eventually, you'll get to a point where you win a division, you go into the playoffs, and maybe get a little bit of a run. And I feel like that second half offensively, like, okay, this is kind of the offense we thought we might see. I would have liked to see one more touchdown up there, but take what's there. Take what you got. You got 17 points in the second half. You ran it well. You closed the game down. Nico had another big ball game, and CJ threw the ball really well. And I thought the offensive line protected, so it was good.
John, think about it. In all our years watching games together from afar, when the Texans have to run the ball like that, it hasn't always worked that way that it worked on Sunday. Really, more often than not, it's worked the other way, and you wind up having to have your defense back on the field, which they have. They've won the big game for you, and then they've been scored upon, and you've walked off with a lead, and then or the offense has walked off with a lead, but the game ends with them not having the lead. So give credit where it's due in that regard, because the Jags knew where the ball was going.
Right.
They knew the run was coming, and they couldn't stop it. That's not an easy thing to do. It doesn't matter. Like I said, if you're playing the Jaguars, if you're playing the Northbrook Raiders, it's going to be tough to do. So, yes, let's just let's work on that positive. You've got the break. You ran when you needed to, so you've got some time off. So we're not going to do any cream of the crop.
The cream of the crop.
Thank you, Macho Man Savage. Don't need that today because there's no game to be played, but we'll do it next week. So instead, John, I'm going to hit you with a few little numbers.
Ooh.
You do by the numbers during the season.
Yeah.
I texted you this morning. I said, "Hey, homie, I'm gonna spell you for this week."
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I got some little interesting ones.
Okay.
4 different Texans have run for a touchdown this year.
Okay.
Mixon obviously has one.
Steph.
Yeah. Stephon Diggs. So that's the tricky one. People kind of forget.
Yeah. Cam Akers ran for one, did he not?
There you go. And surely CJ Stroud snuck one in.
No, CJ has not run one in.
So
the other person is
it's a running back.
It's Daria Gumbawale has a receiving touchdown.
Caught a touchdown. Yeah.
Caught a touchdown. He does not have a rushing touchdown.
That's right.
Damian Pierce?
Yeah. So those are the 4 guys who've run for.
Damian had that long touchdown run against New England.
Yeah.
That's right.
Great play by Damian.
Yeah.
7 games with 100 yards on the ground or more. That's atop the NFL. That's Joe Mixon. That's what he's done this year. In your wildest dreams, nobody thought Joe Mixon was going to be what he's been this year. You thought, hey, he's going to be good.
Right.
But you didn't think he's going to just crank out 100 and a touchdown just about every time he goes out on the field. 7 games, John, and he's missed 3.
Yeah.
That's 7 incredible. Out of 10. That is remarkable.
He's 887. He's got the second most touchdowns in his career with 11. He had 13 touchdowns in 2021.
He's also caught a score, so he's got a dozen scores this year.
Right. So, and he had how many? He had 16 total touchdowns in 2021. So, got 4 games left. Is that right? Yeah, he's got 4 games left. Now, hopefully it's just, 3 or maybe fewer, just trying to get him some rest. Hopefully if we can win, get into playoffs, and then seeding keeps you from really having to play the last game against Tennessee. Either way, he's 113 yards away from 1,000. His best year was 2021. That's the year we've kind of referenced. 13 rushing touchdowns, 1,205 yards. He also had 3 receiving touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not the only thing that they've started to do a little bit more of, but we kind of thought that Joe would get a few more targets in the passing game. I thought that was going to be a little bit more, but because they've given the ball as much as they have in the run game, I'm okay with it. He's gotten the touches that I thought he would get. He's been phenomenal. You're absolutely right. I think a very intriguing question, Drew, is who's been more valuable to the offense, Joe Mixon or Nico Collins? That's a really tough question to answer. I'm glad.
It's a good
it's a good issue
argument to have and question to ponder. It's really good. Okay, I know you're loath to talk kickers and punters, but we got to shout out each.
You know I'll shout out my guy.
Well, okay, let's start with Kaimi Fairbairn.
Okay.
12 field goals made, 50 yards or longer. That's the NFL. That's an NFL record that he set a week or two before with 11, I think, or 10. But he keeps every 50-yard field goal he makes, he's adding to his record. His Ruthian, Babe Ruthian record. All right, calm down. I'm just not a Babe Ruthian. But it's impressive as hell.
Yes, it is.
And shoot, first month of the season, D'Amico Ryan said, hey, Kaimi Fairbairn's our MVP because of some of the stuff he's done and some of the big kicks he's made. And you can't undersell it. When you're kicking far with Kaimi, most of the time it's going in.
That's right.
At a really high rate.
The first game against the Colts, it was 350-yarders. I think it was 350. Was it 350-yarders against the Bears too? I mean, he's just been, he's had those
against
two
the
shorties
Bills
that he missed that I know. I've never seen him react to a miss like the one against Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Drew, that's when we were talking about the bye in 13 weeks in a row. That's the moment when I was like, this team is pretty tired, because I've thought about my biggest blow-ups or misses or whatever, and how I've reacted to it. Most of the time it's when I'm at my most fatigue. And you could just tell when he missed that one against Tennessee, he kind of felt all fours on the turf. And I was like, I've never seen him do that. I've never seen him do that. So everybody needs a little bit of a break, but I don't know where we are without that man.
No.
I don't know. He's been fantastic. Those misses stink, but man.
You might not be a 500 team without him.
That's right. I think you're absolutely right with that.
Okay, so his holder is punter Tommy Townsend.
Mm-hmm.
I got to check with our PR staff, but I got to think this is a record right now if it stands. He's punted 59 times in 55.9. So nearly 56% of his punts have been downed inside the 20.
Oh, wow.
Huge.
Wow.
Huge for your defense, huge for your team in general. But I think the previous mark was by Brian Anger in 2019. He was a really good punter.
Very good.
And I think it was right around 53%. But most of the time it's south of 50. At least it has been with the Texans. What he's doing, man, is pretty remarkable. He's been on a tear too. If you kind of look at what he's done the last 6-7 games.
Yep.
Whole season long he's been good, but especially lately, he's really been good at, like, he's syncing up with his coverage units, and they're getting the ball down inside the 20 and sometimes even deeper.
That's right. He's been, the funny thing, I remember him saying to me, he kicked outside in Kansas City. So when we talked to him about, perfect conditions inside, he's like, John, I got so used to kicking outside. So, early on in the year when he wasn't punting as well as we thought he would, as what he wanted to.
Maybe he's feeling his way, finding his way.
He was finding his way, and then he eventually got to a point where inside, outside, he was punting well, and he's got to continue to do that and continue to flip field position when needed.
Yeah.
Flip the field position one time in a game, just one time in a game, and what that could mean is absolutely huge.
Big time by the specialist. Okay, you know me. So Mark Vandermeer, his fetish is ranking the preseason wins and big plays. He loves that.
Yeah. Oh, I know it's coming.
Turnover differential.
Yes.
Takeaways. You get an interception or a muff punt or a forced fumble with a fumble recovery versus turnovers. How many times you turn the ball over. Texans are really good this year in that stat. They're tied for 4th right now in the NFL. They're plus 10. Only 3 teams have better turnover differentials right now than them. They're plus 10 in turnover differential. But since the start of week 6, when they played the Patriots, every single game since then, they've won the turnover battle, the takeaway battle. They didn't in one game, and they were even. But they've been positive the whole way through. And when they entered that New England game, they were under 500. They were underwater in that. So it's been remarkable. It's like a plus 13 in that span.
It's been unreal.
They're taking it away. They're second in the NFL, only second to the Vikings in interceptions. They've got 16 picks, John. They only had 14 all season long last year. Only 14 is a good number.
Yeah.
But they've got 16 already this year, John.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And what was it, number 16?
16 interceptions right now. Yeah.
They probably have dropped 5 to 7.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sting drop is tough.
Bullock and Dallas.
Bullock should have had a pick 6 against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Sting should have had another couple against Dallas. I mean, I'm using 5 to 7 as a low ball estimate.
Right.
Because they could have had a few more. I think Kamari could have had another one. I mean, it's been impressive to watch those ball hawks back there that, make plays on the football. And then not just make plays on the football, but then go hunt down the football as run defenders. They don't sit back there and go, no, they don't pay me to do that. They take a lot of pride.
There are no business decisions being made by those guys.
That's right.
Meaning they're not.
They take a lot of pride in how they play the run, and I love seeing that. Love seeing that.
You know what else I love are sacks.
Okay.
Daniil Hunter has 10.5.
10.5. Yep.
Will Anderson Jr. has 9.5, and he's missed some time. But you know what, John? As a team, listen to this: 42 sacks this year in 13 games. In 17 games last year, they had 46, which is a pretty good number still.
Yeah.
But they're only 4 shy of beating last year's number. They still got 4 more games to go.
And wasn't last year was one of the highest in team history.
It's gotta be, yeah.
It was if it wasn't, it was close.
You've had those two. You've had Tim Settle getting in the mix. He's
Tim Settle has been fantastic.
That's hard to get sacks like that from that interior position.
I mean, Tim has been fantastic. He didn't get a sack. I think he may have got a touchdown. So I don't even know if they gave him a sack for that. I think they just maybe gave him a TFL. But the play he made on the trap, they tried to trap block him, try to block back on him or a trap, and he ate that thing up. I was like, man, he is on one this year. He has just been incredible.
Last one. 2 dudes on defense have scored touchdowns, Jimmy Ward and Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett's one of the plays of the year. Jimmy Ward, hey, you get a pick 6. That's one of the plays of the year, too. But that's nice. We like scoring on defense.
Yes.
That's what I tell the 7-on-7 crew, the 10 and 9-year-olds that I was helping assistant coach. Let's get a score on defense.
Score on defense.
It's that easy, right, guys? Do it. Yeah.
So you said it. Through 13 games, what is the play of the year for the Texans through 13 games?
I think up there is the game-winning field goal against the Bills.
Yes. Up there, yep.
Play number 1 of the year from scrimmage, the touchdown to Nico Collins.
Oh, you're talking calendar year.
Wasn't that didn't he score on the first play against the Colts too?
No, not against the Colts, no.
What did he do in the first play of the
No.
What did he do?
Against the Cowboys?
No, against the Colts this year.
Well, I mean,
week
scored.
One.
He had that deep ball down the field, but that was in the second quarter.
What was the first play of the game against it? We didn't score on the first play?
No, we didn't. Not the first play. Not against.
Son of a gun.
Not against them.
Goodness gracious.
Stover on the first play of the game against the Titans.
Yeah.
So on Texans All Access Matchup Edition, my third segment, usually in the bye week, I'm trying to think around for things. And I had a couple minutes left. And I'm like, what do I do? And I'm like, all right, I'm going to have
the Dougherty touchdown.
It's a really good one.
Big one.
That's one that gets forgotten about a lot.
Yeah.
I said the play of the year.
Maybe the Barnett touchdown.
The Barnett touchdown. Barnett touchdown against Dallas.
Well, degree of difficult, that's it. I mean,
because you have so much happen on that particular play. You have Barnett with the sack, then Guyton with the ball, and then Petrie kamikazing him, ball popping up, Barnett getting the ball back in some sort of cosmic football justice, and then running for a touchdown. And it's against them in their building.
It's delicious.
And it's into that corner where Mark and Andre are up in the booth, but that's where the majority of the Texans fans were, in that corner. There's just a lot happening on that particular play. And that's where I went. Because earlier in the season, I said Kaimi's kick against the Bills, and which is a tremendous kick. There's no doubt about that, to win that game. And when the season's over, maybe I'll come back to that, maybe. But I just felt like with that team that we beat that night in that building and getting the series to 3-4, that's we're 1 win away against the Cowboys for being 500. Even Steven against them in the series. Not there yet. Need another one.
Got a ways to go until we're 31-15 against them, like we are against Jacksonville.
Yeah. We've been rolling there.
Yeah.
And we lost one on the Titans. It was 23-21. Now it's 24-21. So that's why I want to win week 18 no matter what happens.
Well, with that, it's time to go back into quiet announcer voice, and we're going to finish things up here on this podcast. It's been a nice first 13 games with you, John. I can't wait to do another 8 games to discuss. I'd like to discuss
good math. I like the math you just did. That's really good.
Notice I didn't use my fingers. So.
Use that brain of yours.
And
look at the big brain on Drew.
All right, man. Good to be with you. Thank
man.
you again for listening and watching. You right there. Yeah, you. That's right. Point that finger back at yourself. We appreciate you. We'll be back again next week previewing a big game against a good opponent. Those Miami Dolphins, nothing to sneeze at. We'll see you then.